Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 115. And today we are going to talk about the power of your soul's medicine. If you're new to my work, my name is Lisa Espinosa. I'm a spiritual career coach, and I help all of you who have already helped so many and have a prayer in your heart and intention to really share your gifts, share your creativity in a way that feels so meaningful and purposeful for you, that touches a lot of people, that helps a lot of people, but that you get to do that in a way that really feels good to you, that really cultivates a life you love. Because it isn't either or, right? There's been this old paradigm of in order to help a lot of people, you have to sacrifice and like you can't have both. Or if you take good care of yourself, then you can't help as much as you could. And that's simply not true. So today we're going to talk about this concept that I've been talking about for years, which is your soul's medicine. And so if you are hearing this and you've heard me talk about this before, I invite you to just again be in that open beginner's mind. And if you've never heard me talk about it, then just receive. So part of my core teachings, what I teach in my classes, what I teach my coaching clients is that we each have a unique soul's medicine. That's what I call it, right? A unique soul's medicine that nobody else has. And this unique medicine, and that's what I want to really break it down to you. And this is kind of a continuation of a blog that I shared in my newsletter. And so your soul's medicine, sorry, I have a hair in my eye. Okay, your soul's medicine is, this kind of image that recently came to me, and versions of this have come to me before, but this was really, I spend a lot of time going to cathedrals here in Mexico. I relocated here about a year and a half ago. And if you've ever been to Mexico, any of the beautiful cities in the historic center, there are tons of cathedrals. And I go there really not when there's mass happening, but I just go there because most of them are open all the time. You can just go in. And a lot of them are very beautiful. And I just kind of get guided on which ones to go to. They often have a shrine to Mother Mary, maybe specifically to Our Lady of Guadalupe. So there's one cathedral that's walking distance from my house, about a 20-minute walk, that has a shrine to Our Lady of Guadalupe and to Joan of Arc. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. And I want to be clear, if you're new to my work, that even though I know Mother Mary and Joan of Arc, and a lot of the ascended masters, divine beings that I talk about come from that kind of Christian branch of religion, that I'm really speaking in a universal way. I'm not talking about it from a religious or dogmatic context. But, ascended master, and what's an ascended master? For me, that term is used for these divine beings that had a human life, lived a human life, and then through their work, through their life, through the legacy of love that they left, they ascended, right? And they're now available to help us. So in this shrine, I love going there and just meditating right around the little shrine of Guadalupe and Joan of Arc. And so I shared in my newsletter how recently I was there, and a lot of times when I'm meditating, I mean, there's specific things I might be asking or wanting to receive guidance from, but it was really this specific time was about my purpose. How could I help more? How could I help my clients more? Was there more I was meant to be doing? What classes am I meant to teach this year? Just kind of that type of conversation. And what I've realized when I connect with divine beings, including my own higher self, right? Because all of these divine beings are actually ultimately what they are mentoring us to do, what they are teaching us to do is to connect with the master within us, right? And so as I posed those questions, I was really asking the master within me, right? What I use the word soul, my higher self. And often when we bring these questions, often the first response I get is to come into a state of receiving, like letting myself receive, which is so interesting, right? When you ask a question and the first answer is let yourself receive. And so I've been practicing that for a long time now. And so I kind of can, guide myself to go into this receptive mode. So if you're listening to this, you might want to ask yourself, how do I practice that? Do I practice being in a place of receiving? And this isn't, I know sometimes, especially, my clients and students who are so drawn to helping, or what are they going to do? What purpose do they have? Receiving might seem like either indulgent or a waste of time, but actually receiving is the most important thing, because what you're receiving is alignment. You're receiving connection to your true essence, the master within you, to spirit, to God, to the divine. Without the receiving, the sacred receiving, you really can't give. And so that's why often the first teaching, the first guidance I receive is let yourself receive. So as I was in this receptive mode in this shrine, then I often, when I'm in those spaces, the answers might not come in words, the guidance might not come in words, it might come more in energy and images. And so what I was visualizing, it was like this like beautiful like golden light, right, coming down the crown of my head. And I knew this was like this golden light that represented a divine download, a divine light energy that I was getting from source, from God, from spirit. And as it, moved through me, right, then there's like this kind of then radiating out, kind of like Guadalupe's rays of sun, of light, right? Like radiating out. And I knew that this was showing me, okay, this is, you know, in that question of how do I help more? How do I reach more people? There was this first like align, right? Remember where your help is coming from. It's coming, you're a channel, it's coming through source to others. And because of that, it's like never ending, right? It's infinite. It keeps regenerating. And then, so as I was in that space, I really understood that this light, and I'm sharing this because this is for all of you, as it goes in me, it's going through my life, right? It's going through all the experiences. I call them initiations. You can think of them as transformative experiences that I've had in this lifetime and others, but I won't go into other lifetimes in this teaching, but right. So all my transformative experiences. And so think about all of your transformative experiences. What's a transformative experience? An experience that you've had. It could be positive, it could be challenging, that has transformed you, that you going through it and the response, you processing it, you being with it. And then on the other side, you've had more understanding, more wisdom, a more compassionate heart, more openness, more courage, right? And so when this light of the divine goes through you, it is weaving with these transformative experiences that you've had, right? And so it's not just like you're a hollow pipe and the divine light goes through you and out. No, it's like you are right, like that beautiful prayer, make me an instrument, right, of thy peace. You are an instrument, but the divine is weaving with your experiences, with your life, to create that potent elixir that I call your soul's medicine. And so when we talk about, the title of this episode is the power of your soul's medicine, is realize that is why it's unique. Like if we were just like a hollow tube and, the divine was just like sending light through us to everyone, there would be no uniqueness. And that's one of the gifts of a human life. I mean, there's challenges, there's the gift of free will, and there's also the gift that we get to be unique reflections of the divine, right? Like a unique fingerprint. And part of that is our human life. And so what I want the teaching for today really is, well, one is you kind of understanding like, oh, okay, it's the light of the divine weaving with my transformative experiences. That is why nobody else has your soul's medicine, because nobody else has lived your life, right? Nobody else has gone through your specific experiences, challenges, blessings, all of that. So then the question becomes, what enhances my medicine and what hinders it? And that's the teaching for today. It's like, so, and this was actually based, I wanted to show, I meant to have this picture ready. By the way, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, I would highly recommend it because that's where I share everything. But if you see this, I don't know if you could see this little, it says Farmacia de Dios, which in Spanish means pharmacy of God. So it was this little pharmacy I saw after I was at the shrine. And even though, like I said in my blog, I don't, the word God, I usually use other words, source, divine spirit, but if God resonates with you, absolutely. But as I saw that, I was like, oh, I just had this image of like this beautiful divine pharmacy, right? Like God's pharmacy, the spirit's pharmacy, the pharmacy of of the divine mother, right? And it's like lined with shelves and these beautiful little bottles, and each one has our name, right? It has a name of a human, right? It's like there's my name and then your name, and each bottle is unique, is completely distinct, and is like so needed in the world. I mean, imagine how powerful that medicine must be if like there's no other bottle with that medicine. And so I just explained why, right? It's like the divine going through you and then going through your, right? Like your experiences weaving together to create this potent soul's medicine. But then it's like, well, why does it appear to be that some people can share their medicine in a more impactful way? Like, what is the difference then? It's not source. It's not that the divine is saying, okay, well, you're going to be more gifted and then you're not going to be as gifted. It's not that. We know that the divine loves everyone unconditionally. And so then what it is that if you picture it as a stream of golden light and these kind of boulders that could be in there kind of interfering with the flow, that becomes the journey of our evolution, our ascension, our enlightenment. And what are those boulders? So I narrowed it down to 4. And it's really specific, and there's probably more, but this is from the focus on those experiences that you've had in your life. And we're going to focus on the challenging ones because in general, the beautiful experiences we don't have as hard a time integrating, right? It's like, yes, there can be resistance to joy, and I'll talk about that in another time. But for the most part, you know, when something amazing happens to you, you don't have as much resistance to it, right? It's like you receive it. So we're going to focus on those challenging experiences you've had in your life. And when we experience a challenge, we can either choose to, process it, right? To, yes, let ourselves feel our feelings. Okay, this isn't about being a robot or like, I'm just going to feel great even though this challenging experience is happening. Absolutely not. We are human, right? We are meant to have our human emotions. But it's how, in whatever way you were able to process it, learn the lessons, right? Take in the gifts, release the wounding, the trauma, and then really on the other side, be transformed. Now, as you go through your life, there will be cycles of these experiences. Now, you might look back in your childhood if you had some very challenging experiences in your childhood and didn't have support. Obviously, you just do the best you can. Often it's not until we're adults that we're able to go back to those experiences and really process them. So there's that option. We have that choice that we can make. And then the other choice we can make is we have these challenging experiences and they just become either bitterness, resentment, self judgment, shame. And again, there's no judgment because the truth is that in our human life, we kind of experience both. But as you keep moving on your spiritual path, more and more you start to recognize, okay, this isn't happening to me, right? It's actually part of my divine curriculum, part of my schooling, part of what's going to awaken who I really am. And so the things that, as this divine light is coming through you, really trying to weave with these experiences, right? Because then what happens then when you share your medicine, you're sharing it with a very distinct presence, distinct life lessons that you've learned, and that distinct way you share it is going to touch certain people in just the right way. So there are people that will hear you speaking or whatever, however you share your medicine, and will be like, oh gosh, this is what I've been waiting for. This is because there's a connection, right? And so what are the blocks? The first one is any sort of self-criticism. I think this is probably one of the biggest ones for the people who are drawn to my work, probably because it's such a big one that I've had to work through. So any form of self-judgment, self-criticism, self-shaming, like all of that is creates these kind of like, yeah, I just see it kind of as boulders so that when the light of the divine goes through you, there's resistance. It doesn't flow as easily. Now, again, if you are hearing this and you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, don't judge yourself for it, right? We all go through this. But what's amazing with all of these is when you acknowledge it, when you recognize, oh my gosh, I really still judge myself for that experience I went through or the experience I'm going through now, then you can recognize, okay, and I know this isn't coming from my soul. This self-judgment is actually not coming from the divine, right? And you can start to ask for help. So even just acknowledging it opens the flow. So there's self-criticism. There's also when the energy of victimhood. And I always want to be very mindful of this because I definitely don't want this to come off as suggesting that there aren't times when we are absolutely victimized, that there aren't people who get victimized by abusers, by governments and all of that. But the energy of victimhood, right, is this energy, if we've all felt it, right? Is this energy that can stay with us of feeling wronged, feeling like um there's a separation that comes, right? Well, nobody has felt this like I do. Nobody has had this hurt like I have. Nobody really understands how this is. And I mean, in some ways, that's true. Nobody can fully understand what we're going through, but it comes from there's a, you know, there's a disempowerment with this energy, and there's really a separation. That's really the energy that I can identify the most when we're in that place of victimhood, right? There's this separation, even isolation. And so that's another energy that can really hinder the flow and the weaving of the divine's light with our medicine, right? With our transformative experiences. So again, there's no judgment, there's no shame. This is a very human thing, but just we can start to recognize where we might be holding some of that. And the next one is entitlement. And entitlement is interesting, can often come with, kind of hand in hand with victimhood. And so entitlement is what it sounds like, right? I'm entitled to this. There's a kind of feeling of I should have this. Coming again, The common denominator here, if you notice, is the feeling of separation, being separate from others. And that's one thing I taught about years ago, where if you're trying to discern, is this my soul speaking or is this my ego mind? A really huge way to tell is if what you're thinking, what you're feeling, if it's leading to a feeling of separation, that you're different from others, either better than or worse than, you can know that's not coming from your soul. So that feeling of entitlement. And the last one is the feeling of is just judging others, right? Anytime we judge others, and all of these overlap, right? And so you can just kind of notice which of those are loud within you. And again, it's not to judge yourself. It's not to it's not even in this moment to fix anything. It's just to recognize it. Because then you can start that intention of like, okay, just acknowledging it already opens you up. And then so what enhances your soul's medicine is really the opposite of those, right? So if we said self-criticism, any form of self-criticism blocks it, then of course self-love, self-acceptance, self-compassion, all of those open you up. And it's like magic, because it doesn't even mean like you have to have processed your transformative experience and totally be on the other side and that, like, no, just in any moment, these can just bring you back into alignment. So self-compassion, self-love, self-acceptance. Also, any way that you can cultivate a feeling of unity, of connecting to other humans. And I don't mean connecting like, go meet with other humans. I mean, that could be part of it, but it's an internal thing. It's when we are in that place and we recognize, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this pain, this sadness. There are so many other people in the world feeling this too, right? And we feel a connection, we feel a solidarity, right? And that's a really powerful thing. And again, because we are divine, but we have an ego structure, right? We're having a human experience. We actually need tools to practice these feelings, right? For me, feeling, whenever I'm in the energy of victimhood or entitlement, and it can be very, very subtle, right? So if you're hearing this and you're like, I never feel entitled, it's really subtle, but sometimes we do, right? And we can just tell by when we start to feel isolated, right? I think sometimes we think entitlement means I feel better than, but entitlement can also be really kind of bound together with victimhood, with feeling like less than or being very wronged. And it's just very kind of messy. And so really you kind of knowing, how do I cultivate this feeling of connection? I know when for example, when my husband, last like 4 months ago was diagnosed with cancer, which it's a transformative experience we're both going through. I could feel myself. There were so many emotions, right? And of course, I had to let myself have my feelings. So please do not misunderstand. I was angry. I think more than angry. I mean, there were moments of anger, but that for me more, it was like grieving and anxious and worried. Those were the loudest. And so, but when I would pray and meditate and really want to surrender into the experience, not surrender as in giving up, but just really allow myself to like drop the resistance, hear the guidance, feel the love of my soul. Often what I was guided to was connection, and really connecting, not just with people who had cancer, but any person who had this shock, because it was a very big shock for me. My husband hadn't been sick or anything. It was just like, and it really touched in me this feeling of connection with people around the world who go through like shocking transformative experience, right? So, like a shock, a loss, or a diagnosis, or like a end of a relationship, or a sudden death, or the loss of a home, right? It's like that shock. And I felt so connected. So there was this feeling of connection, but I wanted to cultivate that, right? So that even as I was processing that and I'm still am, that transformative experience, that I was still opening the channels for my soul's medicine to be woven, to be enhanced, to be magnified. The next one, again, they're all connected. I'm sorry, I have my little notes here because I don't want to forget, is humility, right? And humility, again, is kind of like the opposite of entitlement, right? And humility also gets very confused, right? It's not, often what I actually coach my clients on is really not minimizing their gifts, not minimizing their light, not minimizing, feeling proud of themselves. So humility doesn't mean that you don't accept a compliment or don't acknowledge your gifts or don't acknowledge your light. That's not what it's about, right? Humility is really goes hand in hand with what I just said, with connection, with just understanding that we're all connected. And when we see others who are maybe making choices different from ours, that we understand, like, oh my gosh, maybe if I had had whatever experience that person had, I might be doing that, right? There's like this humbleness that's very powerful. It's not a humility that I'm a doormat, right? And so the difference of that, right? So that humility, right? That no matter how far advanced we are in our spiritual path, or how intuitive we may be, or if you talk to angels or ascended masters, or if you've made $1 million, or if whatever, that it's still, we still have emotions, we still have feelings, we still have struggles. There's something beautiful about it, not in a putting yourself down, right? So there's that. It's the medicine for narcissism as well, which is a virus in our planet right now, right? And so finally, the last one is compassion for others. And so again, they all intertwine, they all connect with each other, right? But really what I want you to think about, okay, what are those energies that hinder my soul's medicine? What does that mean? It hinders the process of the divine light going through you and weaving with your pearls of wisdom, right? And so what were those, right? That was any sort of self-criticism, right? Any sort of, like, when we're really stuck in victimhood or entitlement or judging others, which are all very human things to experience. So I'm not suggesting you should never feel any of those. It's just when you notice it, we can recognize it and be like, oh, just the awareness starts to open us up. And then what magnifies, enhances our medicine, right, is self-compassion, any sort of self-compassion, self-love, self-acceptance. Also, any sort of just like really that unity consciousness, that connecting to others, right? That connection. It's such a powerful medicine right now because there's so much polarity, right? So really this genuine feeling that we can start to really cultivate, right? There's also humility, and then there's compassion for others. And so in this moment, what I invite you to do is, like, really, as you heard those, is kind of check off in your mind, okay, from the hindering, what's the biggest block for you right now? Is it some type of self-criticism? Like I said, for most of my clients and students, that's a huge one. Or is it this a part of you that's just really in that energy of victimhood? And again, we say that with so much love and so much compassion, right? It's very normal, natural place at times. Or is it a feeling of entitlement? Entitlement can really come during our transformative experiences when we're like, all right, I've suffered enough. This has gone long enough. I've learned my lesson. It should be over now, right? And again, that's such a human thing. I mean, oh my gosh, I've experienced that so many times in my life. But then it's not that it's wrong that you have those feelings, but then when you recognize, oh, okay, that's my ego mind, right? That's in a different time frame. How can I bring humility to this? How can I think of, like, all the people who have had, I mean, their own transformative experiences that have lasted decades, maybe lifetimes, right? And then judging others, right? So notice kind of which ones for you are the loudest, and just kind of like put a little check mark on it. And just know that just bringing your awareness is already opening you up. right? Opening that channel. And then on the other side, notice which ones your soul is guiding, of the ones that actually magnify your soul's medicine, right? Self-compassion, self-love, self-acceptance, unity, connection to others, humility, and what was the other one? Compassion for others. Yes. And so notice which of those your soul is actually right now helping you polish, right? Is like, that's the one for you to focus on. And don't feel like you have to do all of them because they all overlap. So just notice which one is it for you. And so I want to just do like a really quick guided visual now that you have the teachings to anchor it in. Before that, a couple of reminders. One, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, I would highly recommend that you sign up. It's the best way to stay on top of like all the events and offerings that I'm having. Like today, usually this podcast is at 11, but I had to move it. So the way to know that is to sign up for my newsletter. And I often share a lot on Instagram, and I send the replays of those lives in my newsletter as well. So there's that. Tomorrow is the Mother Mary Blesses 2025 class ceremony. I'm so really, truly looking forward to it. I feel like January has been so much about setting the foundation, tying loose ends from 2024, maybe some like final purging and detoxing of the last year. And now, originally I wanted to do this class, the Mother Mary class, early in the year. Like, okay, I'll do it January 3rd. But I just kept getting the guidance like, no, wait. And I was like, oh, now I understand why. Because we're ready now to really receive these blessings from Mother Mary for this year, for your service, for your leadership, for your medicine. Oh, because one thing that I really wanted to say about your soul's medicine, first and foremost, it is for you. Yes, you are here to share it with others and for it to feel amazing when you share it with others. But that step of the divine light weaving with your experiences, your transformative experiences, your initiations, your pearls of wisdom, that is healing for you. That creates so much more space inside of you, releases the trauma, the wounding, and allows you just to be very blessed and filled with your soul's light. And so in this ceremony tomorrow, Mother Mary's going to, she wrote that, there's about like 6 specific blessings that she's really going to be gifting us with. So I will be sharing teachings from her and doing some energy work to activate these blessings. And I will also pull an oracle card for each person. So I'll put the link to that class also in the description. And finally, if you want to talk to me privately, group classes are amazing, but it's also very powerful to meet privately. I offer a free breakthrough consult. I'll put the link on the description. And this is really an opportunity for me to help you really figure out where you are now, where you want to be, what you think the obstacles are, but then help you identify what they actually are. Or like, what are actually the obstacles that are in your way? They're really all internal. Spoiler alert, they're all internal. But to help you really identify those and like a simple plan on how you would really move through those obstacles to the treasure that lies behind it. And then if I think I can help you further, I'll share the details of my coaching programs with you. So all of that will be there. So let's go ahead. And so I invite you to just close your eyes. Feel the earth beneath you. And remember at the beginning how I said about being in a receptive mode. So I'm going to give you that invitation to shift into receiving, into that energy of receiving, receptive. And if you're like, I have no idea how to do that, just set the intention. Just literally say, and you can bring your hands over your heart as I'm doing and say, okay, beautiful soul, I am ready to receive. And that's it. You can just say that and your soul will start helping you to become more receptive. I like the image of a sunflower that's just like opening up its petals to receive the light of the sun. Okay, so you're in that receptive mode, and then above you, in your inner eye, or just hear my words if it's hard for you to visualize, there's this beautiful golden light hovering over you. And it's like this golden honey light. It's not honey, but it's this, I just keep seeing the image of honey. And so this golden light, and you know that is the light of the divine, of source, of God, of spirit, of the creator, of the creatrix. And she, spirit is so just like, oh, just like so eager to descend upon you, within you. And so receive that golden light and then just see it moving, weaving, right? Tomorrow in the Mother Mary class, I'll go way more deep into this. But right now, just kind of starting to feel that light just going through you and how it's weaving together all of your experiences, all of your pearls of wisdom. And it's doing it, you don't have to control anything. In fact, you can't control anything. You're just allowing it to happen. And then as it happens, this light comes out of you, right? These rays of light. Again, a lot like Guadalupe, right? Those rays of light behind me. And that is your medicine going out into the world. But as the weaving happens inside of you, you are being blessed. You are being healed. And if you had any specific guidance on like, oh my gosh, self-judgment is what really hinders my medicine, just right now, just recognize it and allow a healing, right? If that's what needs to dissolve that obstacle. And then if you recognize, oh, I need, what is the thing that's going to magnify my medicine more? Is it self-compassion? Is it self-love? Is it self-acceptance? Is it humility? Is it unity, connecting with others, like that unity consciousness? Is it compassion for others? And so just receive all of that. And thank your soul. And know that your soul is thanking you so deeply. So we bring the palms of our hands together and we bow to each other and our own heart. And we end this journey today with a namaste. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you tomorrow in the Mother Mary class. You do receive the replay. It is $33. And you know what? I'm going to also just do a quick oracle card for the group here. And who we got? This is from Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors. Hermit. Retreat and recharge. Look at this. He's in a receptive mode right there. Right? And that's really what the Mother Mary class is going to be. We're going to retreat and recharge and be blessed so that you can be the blessing that you're here to be. That's so perfect. All right, my dears, I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.